Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, we're going to talk about careers in aviation from the ground to the moon. Welcome into the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Frank.
So I've seen kind of the announcements around. I've heard people talking about this. Tell us. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have a lot going on this morning's broadcast. We're going to be talking, obviously, about Iran. We've got last night's primary elections, Texas, North Carolina, elsewhere. We're also going to hear about the upcoming careers in aviation from the ground to the moon. You're going to hear all about that with a special guest and friend of Frankly Speaking, Eileen Collins. We're going to hear about that from two special guests from Career Development Council, So that'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. Let's get right to it. Also, we can talk about the hearing with Nome. Great news coming out of New York. Dr. Oz is going to look into the $124 billion Medicaid program here in New York. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But first, let's get to some viewer comments. Pelosi condemns the war against Iran, but supported under the exact same circumstances the Afghan fiasco. I.e., I don't think Congress was involved in that decision. Thank you very much. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank, and good morning, Mark. President Trump has cut all trade with Spain as they would not let the U.S. Air Force use their base to fight Iran, and Spain's president is a socialist, and Trump is not happy with him. I know he threatened to. I'm not sure if he's officially cut it off quite yet, but I do have that in my stack of paperwork. We'll get to a little bit later on when we do Iran updates. And finally, coming in early this morning, this Iran conflict is not entertainment. If this situation is not resolved soon, the Trump recovery will fail. If this turns into a big war, then it will serve as the cover for the totalitarianism takeover. Thank you very much. Now, in breaking news from yesterday, and a lot of it coming from Iran, as a matter of fact, moments before we went on the air, we learned that Israeli stealth fighter shoots down an Iranian jet in a historic first. It has shot down a manned Iranian aircraft in a major show of force as the Islamic Republic continues to be blitzed 5 days into Operation Epic Fury. The F-351 fighter jet, known as Adder, which translates to Mighty One in Hebrew, clashed with the Iranian Air Force over Tehran, according to Israeli military officials. It marked the first shoot-down of a manned F-351 Adder fighter jet in history, according to the Israeli Defense Forces. The last time an Israeli fighter jet struck down another aircraft, and manned air-to-air combat was on November 24th, 1985, during the War of the Camps. So that came in really early this morning, about a half an hour before he went on the air. But yesterday, the heated GOP Texas Senate primary does head to a runoff. This was essentially predicted. This is what was assumed would happen. This is between Senator John Cornyn and State Attorney General Ken Paxton. They will now head to a runoff after neither candidate locked down an outright majority in the Tuesday contest. Representative Wesley Hunt was eliminated from the three-way battle after garnering the lowest support of the trio. Now, the runoff will take place between Paxton and Cornyn on May the 26th. Now, this is that again. It's a weird way of doing it, but with about 3/4 of the votes counted, Cornyn held a lead of 43 to Paxton's 41. Hunt was eliminated with 13% of the GOP primary support. Cornyn told his supporters late yesterday, "We now head into a 12-week primary runoff. I refuse to allow a flawed, self-centered, and shameless candidate like Ken Paxton risk everything we've worked so hard to build over these many years. There is simply too much at stake in the midterm election for our state and for our country." Claiming a Paxton nomination would lose this seat, taking 5 congressional seats down with him. You know what's interesting, too? When it comes to campaign ads, they began already. Because I know you're waiting to find out what happened when it came to Jasmine Crockett. Well, here we go. James Talrico takes down Jasmine Crockett. Most headlines call her a firebrand. Firebrand Jasmine Crockett, someone we've talked extensively about on this program. She and others were pushing polls that showed that she was in a clear lead over Talrico. I know if I was Jasmine Crockett, I would not be happy with Stephen Colbert and the attention Colbert gave her opponent. And really, notice that died off. Once people saw how glaringly obvious it had nothing to do with Trump censoring Stephen Colbert, it had everything to do with equal time, and for some reason he had a problem, meaning Stephen Colbert had a problem interviewing Jasmine Crockett, refused to, as a matter of fact, got fiery about, again, trying to blame Trump about this censorship. Well, James Talrico emerged victorious in that tense primary battle against Jasmine Crockett, giving Democrats a boost in their quest to flip the state red. Talrico had 53.2% of the vote compared to just 45.5% for Crockett. That the Associated Press called the race for Talrico at 2:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, let's face it, Republicans were hoping for a Jasmine Crockett win, viewing her as less electable. Where Talrico has been pushing this kind of, I don't know what you would call it, Christian moderate Democrat, but already there is an ad out, as I mentioned, an ad out that says that, quoting Talrico, where he said God is non-binary, so there's already an attack ad out on him. But many were in the Republican Party, in fact, cheering for Jasmine Crockett. Crockett, who launched her campaign, focused squarely on taking on President Trump. She already is suggesting dirty election tricks. She's an election denier. Voter confusion in Dallas County had initially led a judge to extend voting for 2 more hours. Crockett told supporters earlier Tuesday night, quote, "We encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it." Now, it's being suggested she's responding or suggesting it's Republicans. But again, Republicans wanted her to win because she seemed to be less electable. Now, again, it's not clear who Talrico will challenge because of that runoff between Cornyn and Ken Paxton. Despite Texas being a Republican stronghold state, Democrats have been optimistic that they could make the Senate race competitive due to tight polling matchups with the GOP candidates. All right. It's going to be, that's why Cornyn is going after Paxton, because Paxton does have some, I don't know, for lack of a better word, questionable history of scandals. That's why he wants to defeat, well, he wants the job too, but he wants to defeat Paxton, believing that Paxton is less likely to beat Tallarico. Now, over recent weeks, Tallarico had more than $17.6 million spent on his behalf for ads, while Crockett only saw $4.3 million shelled out. And a lot of that, again, had to do with far-left Stephen Colbert refusing to interview Jasmine Crockett, and all that attention it brought Tallarico. Now, Tallarico and Crockett both come from religious backgrounds, with Crockett being the daughter of a pastor and Tallarico being a Presbyterian seminarian. The two have used the background to hit back against the rise of Christian nationalism, but their tactics were very, very different. We're not going to go through the history of Jasmine Crockett and some of the things she said, but very interesting that Tallarico has defeated Jasmine Crockett, because really the polls did show that Jasmine could win this, but that's why you never trust the polling. There's a lot, well, they go through the history of both of these people, and there is a lot of questionable things they've said. But complaining the whole time, Representative Jasmine Crockett leaves her own watch party, her victory party, if you will. I guess it's called a watch party when it's not a victory party, accusing the GOP of election meddling. The only people that I can see that meddled in the election were Stephen Colbert. And if you think there was funny business going on at the polls, why would it be Republicans when they wanted her to win? We need to see the Dallas County votes to see where they are, she said, accusing the GOP of having specifically targeted Democratic voters. I want you to enjoy yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until early tomorrow. Turned out she was wrong about that. NBC News' Steve Kornacki, said on his live stream, even if the rest of the vote in Dallas County came in, she would still be well short of the margin that Tallarico has built. So there was some voter confusion. She said, unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. So they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. I don't know why. If you could explain a little bit better. This is what Republicans like to do. Again, even Sean Hannity went on his broadcast yesterday and said, we're rooting for Jasmine Crockett. Crockett said, I can tell you now that people have been disenfranchised. In my opinion, we will not know the election results overall tonight. All right, there you are. Now, when we come back, we'll do a couple takeaways from this. Yes, we do. Obviously, there's some other big stories, but we do have to get to Iran. There's a lot going on there. So stay with us. Stay with us. We got a lot coming up, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hustle Sins in Amara Heights. At Hustle Sins, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hustle Sins now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hustle Sins is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hustle Sins.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
What matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline. which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quick though, driving America.
Morning. Once we get areas of morning fog out of the way, we will see peaks of sun today with temperature pushing toward the 52-degree mark, upper 40s and low 50s, about 10 degrees above average. Staying mild tonight. In fact, because we're above freezing, precipitation is rain, not dealing with much wintry precipitation types out there, fortunately. Then back with some low and mid 50s. In fact, more wet weather Thursday and again on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Some comments from viewers. Good morning. Well, good morning. Can you explain to me why they keep using the word war and not conflict if Congress wasn't involved? I think if I just knee-jerk reaction to your question, I think it's obviously because of the implications of the word war in the headline, in the news, as compared to saying conflict. That would be my takeaway on that. Comment from Mark. He says, Jasmine Crockett has a pretty nasty mouth for a preacher's daughter. Yeah, that's what kind of started giving her name recognition and that title of firebrand, because she did definitely use a lot of bad language. Continuing, but I'm glad she lost the primary. I just don't like her attitude. Thank you, Mark. Some takeaways from Texas and North Carolina, according to CNN. Let's see what they had to say. Crockett misses her opportunity. That's a harsh headline. The story of the Texas Democrat Senate primary would be wound up being largely about a missed opportunity for Crockett. The Congresswoman came into the race with buzz around her name and some real built-in advantages. But her campaign never seemed to do the kinds of traditional things, the blocking and tackling that you need to do to complement that. She got in the primary at the 11th hour just 3 months ago. Her campaign advertising was scant, which is kind of crazy. They even say that Texas Governor Greg Abbott accounted for a large share of the money spent on her behalf as he sought to elevate her candidacy in hopes of hurting Democrats. I'd like to know more about that. Again, this is coming from CNN. Her message at times seemed to be more focused on process and grievances rather than talking about what she would do as a senator. In the closing days of the campaign, her staff made a reporter from the Atlantic leave an event. And we talked about that last week. She has an issue with the Atlantic, even though they were writing that glowing piece about her. The far left Atlantic. None of it suggested she was ready for prime time, and that showed on primary day. Despite most of the polling having shown her leading, it was pretty clear early on that it was Tarico's night. One way to look at this is that Democrat primary voters made a more pragmatic choice rather than picking the firebrand, but also the firebrand's campaign just didn't stack up. Then we have a potential brutal 12-week Texas Senate runoff. And it's not even potential. I mean, it's going to be between Cornyn and Paxton. That runoff will not be until May 26th. Under normal circumstances, you'd say Cornyn is the clear underdog in the runoff. Usually these primaries break down between the incumbent vote and the anti-incumbent vote, and a majority of primary voters voted against the incumbent. But Paxton's baggage, including a past indictment and allegations of infidelity from his wife, suggests voting for him could be a hurdle for some who ended up supporting Wesley Hunt. Who might vote for Cornyn or sit out the runoff. And beyond that, Tarico's win in the Democrat primary could put a premium on Republicans putting forward the more electable candidate, which would seem to be Cornyn. Expect to see plenty of talk about whether President Donald Trump, who praised all three candidates in the primary, might join the national GOP in picking Cornyn over Paxton in the name of holding the seat. That might be a tough pill for Trump to swallow, given Paxton is more MAGA than Cornyn, but Trump will also be concerned about keeping the GOP's congressional majorities. Continuing, we don't have to read all of this. Ted Cruz, and this is really interesting. Ted Cruz helped bring down, according to CNN, Representative Dan Crenshaw. You know that name. Dan Crenshaw had kind of been going against the MAGA vein for a while. I'll tell you a little bit more about that specifically, but they're saying that it was Ted Cruz that helped bring him down. Dan Crenshaw got the cold shoulder from Trump, Abbott, and Cruz. Crenshaw lost to State Representative Steve Toth, and it doesn't appear to have been particularly close. Last count had Steve Toth at 56%, Dan Crenshaw at 40.5%. As a matter of fact, Cruz put out an ad supporting Toth, a highly unusual move for an incumbent senator. So what happened is Crenshaw got some in the MAGA movement angry by occasionally showing some independence from Trump over the years. That's the way CNN words it. But it is also true that Texas's new map worked against him by moving in lots of Toth-friendly territory. Other incumbents get scared. Crenshaw had the worst day for an incumbent, and Cornyn is clearly in some trouble, but they're not the only incumbents. As of late Tuesday night, get this, longtime Democratic Representative Al Green, who you may recall was just booted out for the second time from a State of the Union. He's always calling for impeachment. He was locked in a tight contest with Representative Christian Menefee, who recently won a special election for his Houston area seat. The two are running against each other under the new map, the new district maps. So Al Green could potentially be out as of last count at 4:47 a.m. with 87% of the votes in. Al Green had 44.4% to Christian Menefee's 45.9%. Another interesting takeaway from last night, Tony Gonzalez, that he is in a runoff. If you haven't followed that, Gonzalez has faced a series of brutal recent disclosures about an alleged affair, that woman that was a former staffer of his, again, alleged affair, former staffer of his, later died by suicide. The news has led even some Republicans to call for him to resign. But he is in a runoff. And there you go. It says, and a not so good day for ambitious House members. In part, thanks to the disillusionment with the state of legislating in the House, there are an extraordinary number of House members running for statewide office, more than 24 of them, in fact. They're not off to a good start. While both Crockett and Hunt lost their Senate primaries, Republican Representative Chip Roy finished a pretty distant second in the Republican primary for Texas Attorney General. He was in line for a runoff with State Senator Mays Middleton, but Roy is looking like a distinct underdog. So we mentioned James Talrico defeating Jasmine Crockett. Republicans are putting out their first attack video against James Talrico already. The video shows the state House lawmaker and Presbyterian seminarian saying, quote, God is non-binary. But again, going back just quickly to, and I know we've got a lot to talk about here, but Dan Crenshaw losing the Texas GOP primary race, a former Navy SEAL in his fourth term, was defeated soundly by businessman and state representative Steve Toth, as I mentioned, about 58-40. Now, as I mentioned, Ted Cruz worked hard against Crenshaw. If you're saying why, I know the name. Well, Crenshaw is known for wearing a patch on his right eye, which he lost in an IED blast while deployed to Afghanistan. He fumed that his enemies were gunning for him early Tuesday. You know, my enemies have all come out with their knives, Tucker Carlson or Ted Cruz, for no good reason. And Crenshaw had a significant financial advantage in the race. The congressman outraised Toth by more than $1.3 million and also received more than $1 million in support from pro-Crenshaw super PACs. All right. Oh, and one other thing. I apologize in advance because I know we have some Yankees fans out here. I hope I pronounce his name right, but former New York Yankees first baseman Mark Teixeira is projected to win his Republican House primary race in Texas. Teixeira, who helped the Bronx Bombers to a victory in the 2009 World Series, was leading his closest opponent 61.4% to 10.1%. He wrote online, "This is a huge victory, and I'm truly honored to have such strong support from the people of Texas's 21st District. I'm so grateful to everyone who voted, but put in the work, donated, and especially prayed for us all along the way. My amazing family has been by my side every step of the way, my wonderful wife Leah and our 3 kids, and I'm blessed by their support as I prepare to serve the country we love. We're going to run a strong race and win big in November, then hit the ground running to fight for Texas families." Texas area is running to succeed Representative Chip Roy, who, as I mentioned, is running for Attorney General. All right, so there's your election updates. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. We've got a lot more to talk about when it comes to Iran. I do have a couple of New York State updates. I think this is huge, and because the news has been so obviously busy lately, it kind of got glanced over. But Dr. Oz has launched a fraud probe of New York's $124 billion Medicaid program. We talked in the past about the Medicaid program having really no oversight. So this is very important, and I think a step in the right direction in New York. We could talk about that. And if you want to talk about Noam's hearing, that's a topic as well. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Give kids time.
I was diagnosed at 65.
37. Earlier than most.
Every 9 minutes, someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
And every one of them can turn to the American Parkinson Disease Association. Visit apdaparkinson.org to learn more and show your support today.
Brought to you by Toyota, proud sponsor of the World Baseball Classic.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh? Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor. How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard him, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at organdonor.gov.
Morning. Once we get areas of morning fog out of the way, we will see peaks of sun today with temperature pushing toward the 52-degree mark, upper 40s and low 50s, about 10 degrees above average. Staying mild tonight. In fact, because we're above freezing, precipitation is rain, not dealing with much wintry precipitation types out there, fortunately. Then back with some low and mid 50s. In fact, more wet weather Thursday and again on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Before we talk about Iran, I wanted to mention this in case you missed this yesterday because there's so much going on. But actually, you wouldn't have missed this yesterday. This happened early this morning. U.S. and Ecuadorian forces launched joint operations late yesterday targeting suspected narco-terrorists in Ecuador. Southcom said it was taking decisive action against designated terrorist organizations, though it was not immediately clear whether there were any casualties. Southcom posted on X on March 3rd, Ecuadorian and U.S. military forces launched operations against designated terrorist organizations in Ecuador. The operations are a powerful example of the commitment of partners in Latin America and the Caribbean to combat the scourge of narco-terrorism. Together, we are taking decisive action to confront narco-terrorists who have long inflicted terror, violence, and corruption on citizens throughout the hemisphere. Southcom Commander General Francis Donovan praised Ecuador's military, saying, "We commend the men and women of the Ecuadorian armed forces for their unwavering commitment to this fight, demonstrating courage and resolve through continued action against narco-terrorism in their country." So that was late last night, early this morning that it was being reported on. Okay, now listen to this. This ties in with Iran. You recall the other day where a man opened fire in Austin. He was wearing a shirt that said property of Allah. Underneath the T-shirt was an Iranian flag, if I'm not mistaken. Well, listen to this. 3 Austin hero cops, 3 Austin cops who were heroes, who put their lives on the line to stop a maniac's deadly shooting rampage. Those 3 hero cops are expected to face a grand jury investigation thanks to a policy that was put forth around the George Floyd era. Sorry, getting a little tinny there. Texas lawyer Doug O'Connell, whose firm O'Connell West has been tapped to represent the officers at the behest of the Austin Police Association. They said that the mandatory reviews are the brainchild of Austin District Attorney Jose Garza. Quote, the district attorney at the direction of the Wren Collective insists on presenting every officer-involved shooting to a grand jury. Now, the Wren Collective is a reference to a shadowy and influential left-wing Austin-based criminal justice reform group. The lawyer continued, we believe that our clients will face this same process. So the Attorney General Garza instituted the requirement when he took office back in 2021, just a few months after Floyd's killing at the hands of a Minnesota cop roiled the nation and sparked drastic changes in scores of police departments across the U.S. O'Connell criticized the procedure as lacking transparency. Quote, grand juries in Texas are secret, meaning only the prosecutors are in the room. The prosecutors control what evidence a grand jury sees, and they have no obligation to present exculpatory evidence. We know from other police prosecutions, this one-sided presentation is how the Travis County DA has obtained indictments in the past. Every time an officer has to confront a violent criminal, they may be indicted if the DA doesn't like their actions. Wow. Now the cops, the 3 hero cops, bravely shot dead pro-Iran. I don't know how to say his name. Diagni, as he sprayed bullets at a popular college bar, killing 3 people and wounding 13 more. The officers have not been charged or have not had charges lodged against them, at least yet, despite a viral tweet claiming otherwise on Tuesday. So that's an update, and that's something we'll keep you updated on when we find out more. Okay. Oh, comment from a viewer. Did you see they found the father of the shooter, I forget where, was found guilty of murder? Yeah, I believe that was in Georgia, right? Yeah, of the school shooter. I saw that yesterday. Colin Gray, what we learned, let's see if I can find it really quickly on the fly. A jury found that Colin Gray, the father of the suspect, bore criminal responsibility for the attack at a Georgia school by failing to heed warnings of his son's struggle. Instead of getting his son help, the father gave him, now this is the New York Times, a quote, an assault-style rifle as a Christmas gift and let him keep it in his room. Yesterday, a jury deliberated for less than 2 hours before finding Mr. Gray guilty of murder and manslaughter. The son, now 16, has been charged with opening fire at a Apache High School in Winder, Georgia, back in 2024, killing 2 students and 2 teachers. But before his trial has even been scheduled, jurors decided that the father bore criminal responsibility for the attack. So I'm not sure the exact, he's looking at, oh, no, it doesn't say how long he's looking at. All right, that was on the fly, but there you go, was found guilty. A jury found Colin Gray bore criminal responsibility, and we'll let you know if we hear exactly, other than being found guilty, what he will receive. Okay. Yesterday, the Pentagon on Tuesday, and on a somber, heartbreaking note, identified 4 of the 6 U.S. service members killed by an Iranian drone strike in Kuwait on Sunday during Operation Epic Fury. Captain Cody Cork, 35 years old, of Florida. Sergeant First Class Noah Tegens, 42, of Nebraska. Sergeant First Class Nicole Amer, 39, of Minnesota. And Sergeant Declan Cody, 20, Iowa, died in the attack on Port Shuaba. The soldiers were all assigned to the Army Reserve's 103rd Sustainment Command, which is based in Iowa. So that they've released 4 of the 6 names. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families that are dealing with this loss, and also the families of course, that are dealing with the stress and the fear and the long nights through all of this. We do have some updates from yesterday on Iran. Senior Iranian clerics would have been left exposed after an Israeli airstrike hit a meeting place where they were supposed to be convening on Tuesday, days after a strike leveled the Tehran compound of Ayatollah al-Khamenei. The clerics, members of the Assembly of Experts, had reportedly planned to meet at the location to deliberate succession plans for Khamenei. Quote, the second strike would be another embarrassment to what has been left of the regime. It indicates intelligence dominance and superiority because any movement is detected, meaning they would feel exposed. As of now, the leadership would feel insecure and hunted, with all of their plans collapsing one after another. They would feel totally isolated and understand the biggest risks might come from home, from a potential uprising next. Now, Trump says that the bench was wiped out. I have not got specifics on this. This came out yesterday. But Trump told reporters, most of the people we had in mind are dead. So you know we've had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead, also based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon, we're not going to know anybody. The president said the worst case scenario would be someone taking over who is as bad as the previous person. That could happen. We don't want that to happen. It would probably be the worst to go through this. And then in 5 years, you realize you put somebody in who was no better. We'd like to see somebody in there that's going to bring it back for the people. And we'll see what happens with the people. You know, they have their chance. Now, what Israel is warning that whoever is chosen to replace slain leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei will be considered, quote, a target for elimination, end quote, if they continue policies threatening Israel, the United States, and regional allies. The statement comes as Iran's Assembly of Experts moved to select a successor following Khamenei's death. It is being reported, I think, that one of Khamenei's sons is being considered. I've heard differing reports, some saying he's already been selected, others saying that he's kind of on, for lack of a better word, the short list. But as that piece said, and I know I've got to take a break, this I find so fascinating, and to show you the power of Israel. Of course, we all remember the pagers with Israel, which was really fascinating. Get this. Israel hacked nearly every traffic camera in Tehran for years, allowing the Mossad to stalk the Ayatollah and strike with deadly precision. Spies watched Ali Khamenei and his inner circle so closely that one official boasted, quote, we knew Tehran like we know Jerusalem. The extraordinary cyber operation meant Israeli intelligence had eyes on the tyrant's compound long before jets roared in to finish the job. According to Financial Times reports, almost all of Iranian capital's traffic cameras were secretly taped. Footage was encrypted and beamed back to servers in Tel Aviv and southern Israel. Agents tracked the movement of Khamenei's bodyguards, logging their home addresses, shifts, routes, and even where they parked their personal cars. One strategically placed camera facing the Supreme Leader's compound proved gold, as it showed exactly where guards left their vehicles when reporting for duty. That built what spies call a pattern of life, a forensic picture of who protected the 86-year-old despot, when, and how. Fascinating, the intelligence. Okay. Couple other updates from late last night, early this morning. Then we're going to get into what some of the talking heads had to say about it. I do have quite a few updates if we have the opportunity for New York State. So stay with us. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
World Youth Clubs provides professional and technical assistance to all our affiliate clubs all around the world.
We already have 44 countries that are behind us providing safe spaces for kids, but there are 160 other countries we'd like to reach out to.
Yeah.
Right, Brad?
Exactly.
We need you to help fund the World Youth Clubs and make their dream come true.
At Quill, what matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quick Though, driving America.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Morning. Once we get areas of morning fog out of the way, we will see peaks of sun today with temperature pushing toward the 52-degree mark, upper 40s and low 50s, about 10 degrees above average. Staying mild tonight. In fact, because we're above freezing, precipitation is rain, not dealing with much wintry precipitation types out there, fortunately. Then back with some low and mid 50s. In fact, more wet weather Thursday and again on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Mark writes in an update on Miss Hochul. She's trying to ban 50 caliber firearms and all Glock NYP pistols, or TYP pistols, excuse me. Also, she has a 10-day waiting period to buy any gun and make people who own guns have $100,000 liability insurance. So if you vote Hochul in, you're probably going to lose your guns. She wants to do that. She is trying. She wants to do that. We'll find out more about that. I don't have all the information in front of me, Mark, but thank you for sending that along to me. Back on Iran, the U.S. has struck nearly, get this, 2,000 Iranian targets in the first 100 hours of Operation Epic Fury, as military officials vowed to continue striking the regime from seabed to space and cyberspace. More than 50,000 American troops have been deployed as part of the largest military buildup in the Middle East in a generation, according to U.S. Navy Admiral Brad Cooper. Quote, by order of the President of the United States and the Secretary of War, our military in the Middle East has undertaken an unprecedented operation to eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans, as they've been doing nearly half a century. The U.S. has deployed more than 50,000 troops, along with 200 fighter jets, 2 aircraft carriers, and an undisclosed number of bombers since Operation Epic Fury started on Saturday. These forces bring a massive amount of firepower, representing the largest buildup by the U.S. in the Middle East in a generation, Cooper continued. Many of you may remember the shock and awe of the strikes of 2003. The first 24 hours of this operation were literally doubled the scale, and we continued with 24/7 strikes into Iran from seabed to space and cyberspace. Nearly 2,000 Iranian targets were struck in the first 100 hours of the joint operation with Israel, with the U.S. firing over 2,000 munitions. Cooper said the U.S. has severely diminished Iranian air defenses and destroyed hundreds of ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones. In simple terms, we're shooting all the things that can shoot at us, he said. American forces have utilized their various bombers. We don't need to get into all of that. We also learned, according to a report, that the CIA is working to arm Kurdish opposition forces to prompt an uprising in Iran. The CIA is working to arm Kurdish forces. The Trump administration has been in active discussion with Iranian opposition groups and Kurdish leaders in Iraq about how to get them military support as tensions escalate in the Middle East. Iranian Kurdish opposition forces will take part in the ground operations slated to occur in western Iran in the coming days, according to a senior Iranian Kurdish official. We believe we have a big chance now, the source said. The militias have been eyeing an opening since the start of the war and are expecting support from the U.S. and Israel. Thousands of forces of Iranian Kurdish armed groups are operating along the Iraq-Iran border. All right. Now, the Pope again criticized the U.S. Israeli military campaign. So Pope Leo said, pray for peace, work for peace, less hatred. Hatred keeps growing in the world. Find solutions without weapons to resolve problems. I am following with deep concern what is happening in the Middle East and in Iran during this tumultuous time. Stability and peace are not achieved through mutual threats nor through the use of weapons, which sow destruction, suffering, and death, but only through reasonable, sincere, and responsible dialogue. Faced with the possibility of a tragedy of immense proportions, I make a heartfelt appeal to all the parties involved to assume the moral responsibility of halting the spiral of violence before it becomes an unbridgeable chasm. May diplomacy regain its proper role, and may the well-being of peoples who yearn for peaceful existence, founded on justice, be upheld, and let us continue to pray for peace. Lawmakers are demanding answers from Trump's administration on the strategy. This is a narrative that the media, and we talked about this yesterday on the program, is creating, that there is no, what's the word I'm looking for? There is no clear goal in mind, maybe, for lack of a better word. They're trying to say that there's confusion as to why there's been this bombing, why there has been this campaign. That is kind of the media's narrative right now, because they realize with midterms coming up that if they can paint this as a horrible decision by Trump or a confused decision by Trump, they can continue to push that narrative. That's what we're seeing, and some lawmakers are falling right into it. So tensions flared as questions mounted at the U.S. Capitol over the Trump administration's, quote, shifting rationale for war with Iran, and that's what the narrative has been the last 2 days. Rubio pushed back, Secretary of State Marco Rubio pushed back on his own suggestion a day earlier that Trump decided to strike Iran because Israel was ready to act first. Instead, he said Trump made the decision to attack this past weekend because it was presenting a unique opportunity with maximum chance for success. Quote, there's no way in the world that this terroristic regime was going to get nuclear weapons, not under Donald Trump's watch. The sudden pivot to a U.S. wartime footing has disrupted the political and policy agenda on Capitol Hill. Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer left a closed hearing saying he was concerned about mission creep in a long war. And they go through some others. I don't want to go through all this because many did praise the president. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, a Trump ally, said the president did the world a favor. How about we say thank you, Mr. President, for finally getting rid of this nuisance? Senator Elizabeth Warren demanded to know how this fits into Trump's America First campaign promise. It's interesting when they don't like the America First campaign promise and then they're critical because he's not following it in their minds. That's confusing. Quote, America First and peace through strength are served by rolling back, as the military campaign is designed to do, the threats posed. This is certainly not nation building. This is not going to be endless, said, and the name got cut off. Clearly not Elizabeth Warren, I know. So there we are. We got to take another break. We've got a couple comments from Trump. Do we? I don't know. We've got so much to cover this morning. Just stay with us. How about that? We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Kyle just made a decision that would change his whole world.
Hey, you're sober? You drive.
Kyle just made a decision that would change his whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
Morning. Once we get areas of morning fog out of the way. We will see peaks of sun today with temperature pushing toward the 52-degree mark, upper 40s and low 50s, about 10 degrees above average. Staying mild tonight. In fact, because we're above freezing, precipitation is rain, not dealing with much wintry precipitation types out there, fortunately. Then back with some low and mid 50s. In fact, more wet weather Thursday and again on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer: hypocrisy abounds in the Democrat Party. Thank you very much. Trump said that bad seed, Iran, and their evil ideology is unifying countries against it. Saying that's a great point. Look, they're just evil. It's not the politics. It's their whole philosophy. It's terrible. Where they killed 35,000. I thought it was 32. Now it turns out it's much more than 35,000 people. And in some cases, using machine guns with people that have no weapons. They have no weapons, and they're being machine gunned. They're being sniped from buildings. They're hitting the people with snipers right through the eyes. It's just a very evil ideology, and nobody's really seen anything like it. As I've said, even the facts that they've attacked all of their neighbors, and their neighbors weren't attacking, they thought they'd maybe sit it out. They've hit Qatar, they've hit the UAE, they've hit Saudi Arabia, they've hit Oman. They're helping us negotiate. They got hit. Everybody's got hit because they're evil and they're bad. It's a bad seed, and somebody has to do it. Had to do it. And it should have been done sometime during a 47-year period, because so much death has been caused by them. So much unbelievable death. Germany, too. I mean, Germany has been hit. Everybody's been hit by them. It's an evil ideology. Now, as Mark mentioned at the beginning of the program, Trump threatens to cut off trade with Spain over Iran and defense spending. He accused a NATO ally of failing to meet defense spending commitments and refusing to allow U.S. forces to use Spanish bases to support operations related to strikes against Iran. Speaking during a meeting with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz at the White House, Trump said he had directed Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to cut off all dealings with Spain, calling the country unfriendly and criticizing its leadership. Quote, "We're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain." There you go. Now, again, we have poll after poll that the media is presenting, but Fox News did a survey that finds 61% think Iran poses a real national security threat to the United States. Good. The notable exception was when concern hit 73% last June, so it went down a little bit. Even though a majority views Iran as a danger to the country, that concern does not translate into support for the current action, as 50% approve and 50% disapprove. Now, these numbers are much closer. If you looked at the CNN poll we had the other day, they were in the high, wasn't the mid to high 60s saying they didn't support, at least in the 60s, didn't support. 51% think President Trump's handling of Iran has made the U.S. less safe. 51% less safe, up from 43% last July. 29% say he's made the U.S. safer. So your thoughts on that as we get ready for another break. Quickly, Representative Ro Khanna said Congress must reclaim war powers from an out-of-control Trump over Iran, doing a piece at Fox News. Ro Khanna represents California's 17th congressional district, saying, we must assemble a global coalition that is ironclad in our shared commitment that Iran must never be allowed to have a nuclear bomb. A smart approach should have targeted sanctions and other tools to prevent the Iranian government from obtaining nuclear weapons. We can and must deal with the regime's horrific crimes, violations of human rights, and its slaughter of brave Iranian protesters. But bombs will not end Iran's nuclear program, which Trump supposedly obliterated 8 months ago. Nor will bombs bring regional stability or justice for the protesters. America, and John Quincy Adams' words, should be the well-wishers to the freedom and independence of all, but should not go abroad in search of monsters to destroy. This week's vote could be one of the most consequential in our nation's history. Congress can play a critical check on this unthinking march into deeper and deeper reckless wars. I will be urging my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to vote yes on House Concurrent Resolution 38, and I respectfully ask Americans across the political spectrum to engage with the lawmakers to support this measure. After decades of wars launched by presidents of both parties, it's time for Congress to build a new bipartisan majority. Congress must reclaim these war authorities from an out-of-control executive branch and use this moment of crisis to unify our country around a shared priority, quote, no war with Iran. Interesting. Admitting that it was from both parties, I don't remember the pieces from Democrats under Biden, under Obama. But again, and you've seen it by now, the talking point by the media is there is no rationale for striking Iran. Aaron Blake says well, no, we got to go. We'll be right back, wrapping up hour number 1 after this.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Today's stars are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators.
What can this ball teach us about the way things move?
But right now, millions of kids go to schools that don't have the supplies they need just because of where they live. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You could supply a classroom like this one with a project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow. Learn more at donorschoose.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horsesides. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer: I can't believe that poll about Iran posing a threat wasn't 100%, given its proclivity for not only being zealots, but for terrorism. And again, I think you're exactly right. That's why I don't trust polls. That only 50%? Come on. These polls are... Or that was a little higher than that, but I'm just saying some of these, that they don't want to get involved, that it makes us less safe at 50%. It makes no sense. I got to mention this because we're out of time. I don't have to mention this. We're out of time, and I don't want to get into the heavy stuff when I only have a minute. So how about this? I think this is for all our history buffs out there. On this day, 177 years ago, on this day, March the 4th, 177 years ago, the U.S. did not have a president. Or maybe it did. This is where it gets a little confusing. Bear with me. Based on the law back then, President James K. Polk's administration expired at noon on March 4th, 1849. Incoming President Zachary Taylor was supposed to take the oath of office that day, but he refused because it was a Sabbath. He was inaugurated the next day, March 5th. So, was anybody present? Some believe it was Senator David Rice Atchison, the Senate President pro tempore, who was second in line of succession at the time behind the vice president. Atchison's never claimed the title. He never claimed it. But get this. His tombstone says, quote, President of the United States for one day, end quote. I thought that was really interesting. One of those fun facts from a reputable place. There you go. See what you learn? When we come back, we're going to talk more about Iran. As I said, in the next hour, we'll be talking about careers in aviation as astronaut Eileen Collins will be visiting. I think you're going to find that event fun and great for students. Also, I want to remind you that on tomorrow's show, we'll have Mark Margison. He'll be joining us in, I think, the 7 o'clock hour tomorrow. He's a chair of the legislature, Chemung County Legislature and IDA. We'll be talking with him. And on Friday, it's Fridays with Phil. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us. So get all your questions in. We haven't even had a chance, well, at least not on the air, to congratulate him on his appointment to be ranking member on the House, on the Ways and Means Committee, excuse me. We're excited to talk to Phil about that on Friday. Okay. I think that was all my housekeeping. Stay with us. We will be right back with hour number 2 after this.
This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season. Let's go Mets!
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Alcoholics Anonymous. For more information, visit aa.org.
Good morning. Once we get areas of morning fog out of the way, we will see peaks of sun today with temperature pushing toward the 52-degree mark, upper 40s and low 50s, about 10 degrees above average. Staying mild tonight. In fact, because we're above freezing, precipitation is rain, not dealing with much wintry precipitation types out there, fortunately. Then back with some low and mid 50s. In fact, more wet weather Thursday and again on Saturday.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Comment from a viewer. Like Pohl, 177 years ago, like James K. Polk, 177 years ago, we had a lot more religion in our country and our society than today. Thank you very much. If you are just waking up, a couple big stories from last night. Jasmine Crockett was defeated in that Senate primary by James Tallarico. Yes, as I mentioned, I would be very outraged if I was Crockett at Stephen Colbert, who played such an important role really in that victory by refusing, and for some reason the argument fell apart instantly, blaming Trump. He refused to interview Jasmine Crockett. Okay, well, Jasmine Crockett was defeated by James Tallarico. She questioned whether or not kind of the legitimacy of the election, saying that Republicans tried to steal it, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because Republicans were supporting Jasmine Crockett. But anyway, this is just the facts of the matter that Tallarico defeated Jasmine Crockett. And also there is going to be a runoff. This was kind of expected with Cornyn and Paxton in Texas. Okay. We were talking about Iran and the media, for instance, CNN, the rationale for striking Iran was already a mess. Trump has made it worse. That is the talking point coming from the media. So just be prepared, whether you're pro what Trump decided or not, whatever your opinion is, that is what the media is running with. But as the New York Post editorial board said, and I thought this was a good point, critics of the U.S. bombing of Iran slam it as an unnecessary war of choice, all too likely to bog our nation down in another quagmire like Iraq. Secretary of State Marco Rubio left no doubt that it's not in any way optional and that President Trump's goals are clear, rational, and limited. The strikes, though extensive, are focused on a very well-defined goal: to deny Tehran a conventional weapons shield that it can hide behind while building nuclear bombs. Such protection, explains Rubio, would make the cost in lives and treasure of using the military force to keep it from getting nukes far higher than it is now, likely too high. Without action now, there'd come a time when they'd have so many drones and missiles that could inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about the nuclear program. Tehran would, in effect, be putting itself in a place of immunity. And it was well on its way there. Rubio cited estimates of Iranian production at more than 100 missiles a month, far outpacing the 6 or 7 interceptors that can be built, not to mention thousands of one-way attack drones. To head that off, Operation Epic Fury's objective is the destruction of Iran's ballistic missile launchers, stockpiles, and manufacturing capabilities, as well as their one-way attack drones and their navy. That's not reasonable, it's vital. Critics claim the threat wasn't imminent, yet Special Envoy Steve Witkoff reports that Iran's negotiators last month boast of already having enough uranium for 11 A bombs that Tehran could enrich to weapons grade in 10 days. Rubio said, imagine a year from now the capabilities they could have to inflict damage on us. It's an unacceptable risk, especially in the hands of a regime run by radicals driven by an apocalyptic theology. He also spelled out yet again that regime change is not the point. Though we would love to see a new regime, this is an opportunity for Iranians themselves to rise up and remove their leaders. He ensures what Epic Fury ensures is that whoever rules Iran won't have these ballistic missiles and drones to threaten us. One more thing. Anti-Semitic obsessives focused on a brief passage in Rubio's remarks to claim that Benjamin Netanyahu dragged America into the war by saying he was about to strike Iran, forcing Trump to join to minimize Iranian retaliation against U.S. forces. What nonsense. Trump has repeatedly forced Israel to call off attacks and could have here. As Rubio clarified yesterday, Trump had already concluded that Iran was simply playing us in negotiations and decided to attack because there was no way in the world that this terroristic regime was going to get nuclear weapons under Donald Trump's watch. Israel's input affected the timing after U.S. intel spotted the chance to take out the Ayatollah and most of his top commanders and, quote, a unique opportunity to take joint action against this threat. Yes, the opportunity had presented itself, an amazing opportunity to take out the Ayatollah and his top leaders because, and I wish I could remember who said it the other day, because they got cocky, because they felt untouchable, so they all met in one location that did not prove to be as secure as they thought. Trump promised time after time not to let Iran go nuclear, just as he vowed no forever wars. Epic Fury delivers on both of those commitments. We're preventing Tehran from gaining the ability to strike us by ensuring it won't build a weapons shield that enables it to make ICBMSs and nukes. The goal is defined, limited, and entirely Trumpian. And striking now was the best option for achieving it. Moving on, once we're done, it will be a tremendous success. And as Van Hipp from Fox News says, Trump's refusal to kick the can down the road when it came to Iran just saved generations. Now, Van Hipp is a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army. He said the elites who opposed President Trump from the start helped structure the Iran deal, which would have eventually allowed Iran to resume its nuclear ambitions. Prior administrations gave Iran a lifeline by transferring enormous sums of money. President Trump, though, stuck with his gut that America, our children, and our grandchildren would not be safe with an Iran that possessed nuclear weapons, combined with long-range ballistic missile launch capabilities. He made the right decision for this and future generations of Americans. And China and Russia are taking note that this president is different. The security of the American people is foremost with him, and he doesn't kick the can down the road. The entire world is seeing what real American leadership looks like. Yeah, and it is interesting. I know some of the people around Putin, like Dmitry Medvedev and others, have tried to make these veiled threats, or not so veiled threats, really, suggesting we're getting the World War III. China has remained relatively quiet. But I think this is what people talked about in Trump's first term, which is, okay, if you're out there and you're watching and you're a Trump supporter, you didn't know what Trump would do in certain instances. As the New York Post called it, Trumpian. If heaven forbid, China attacked something or Russia attacked something, you wouldn't know what Trump would do as a Trump supporter. That means China and Russia don't know either. And if you look at Iran and when they were in the negotiations and how that went, which were not good, and their kind of aggressive nature in the talks and aggressive nature outside of the talks, they clearly did not expect this from Trump, because Ayatollah Khomeini, meeting with his top commanders in a location, thinking they were safe, is not something you would normally do in a kind of a, quote, wartime posture, which is what so many in the media like to use. Yes, by the way, I see some comments coming in. We're going to talk about New York State issues and some other issues as well. But I kind of want to wrap up our discussion here on Iran. But again, great news coming out of New York. Dr. Oz is going to launch a fraud probe of New York's $124 billion Medicaid program, something that many Republicans in New York have been calling on for some time. As I mentioned, if you are just joining us, Cornyn and Paxton out of Texas in that Senate primary will head to a runoff on the Democrat side. Crockett was defeated. Jasmine Crockett was defeated by James Tallarico in that primary. All right. Michael Goodwin said that the war in Iran was never a choice. Trump was left with no option but to defend America and all Western civilization. And I think, and he says it like so many others, and we're going to talk about the attacks on the decision. But this idea, well, as he says, a major talking point among Democrats and their media handmaidens is that President Trump launched a war of choice against Iran. Given American casualties and the earth-rattling impact, the criticism could be a powerful political argument in the midterm elections if it were true, but it's not true. In fact, we can now be certain that this war in Iran is not a choice. It is instead a war of American self-defense and of maybe even a war of survival for Western civilization in Israel. We know that because the curtain has been lifted on what happened inside the room during the last-ditch negotiations to head off the war. The picture that emerges is of an Iran hell-bent on becoming a nuclear-armed power and determined to continue exporting its bloody Islamist revolution through the region and around the world. That was the leader's fatal mistake. For unlike his two immediate predecessors, Barack Obama and Joe Biden, Trump had no interest in bribing the mullahs with pallets of cash and sweet-talking them into joining the civilized war. That he is cut from a different cloth became clear early in his first term when Trump withdrew the U.S. from toothless nuclear pact that Obama created. So just without getting too much more into that, I thought that was a good point. It's not this war of choice, but you have so many, and we only have a couple other pieces on this, but Liz Peek, for instance, has an interesting take on this, because we have to look at it not just from what's happening there in Iran, but also how the media is crafting the message, and also how many on the left are protesting this, what they are saying, how they are really outraged that we took out Ayatollah Khomeini. They're not happy. Many on the far left not happy working with Israel. We're going to talk about that when we return. But we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We're just getting started, and hour number 2 will be right back.
This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season. Let's go Mets!
Tired of cold weather? Sunny days are closer than you think. Get ready now for fun later with a boat, camper, or RV loan from Servview Credit Union at just 5.99% APR for up to 10 years. Adventure is waiting. Apply today.
It's been a real journey since 2014. When I first had my injury, I realized that my home was just not working for me and that it was time to ask for help. Homes for Our Troops is really giving me my life back. The shower allows me to go in and turn around with my chair, pull down storage racks, automated door systems, hours of my morning given back to me. Adaptive sports are a huge part of my life, a huge part of my healing journey as well. Homes for Our Troops helped with making sure that I had a home gym so that I can continue to train. This past year, I was able to host Thanksgiving in my home. And it was the first time I was able to have my whole family in one place, and I was able to contribute to the meal. There are a lot more veterans in need, and Homes for Our Troops is going to be there to help them too.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
In Albany, Buffalo, was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition, severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We're going to be hearing about careers in aviation in just a moment. Let's go to some viewer comments. Comment from a viewer said, what I meant to infer regarding Polk was that today we need to begin to reinstate religion in not only our schools, but in our society as a whole. Our culture would be a lot better off for it. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Jasmine Crockett still has a bright future in politics. Texas obviously isn't crazy enough yet. But if New York would take AOC, they'll take her. Yeah, there's a lot of talks of AOC either running for president or running against Chuck Schumer, or if Chuck Schumer retires, which I don't think he would. But if he sees the writing on the wall, he's not going to want to end his career, his lifelong political career, lifelong political career, on a loss. So if she gets in primaries him, the polling as of today shows that AOC would be victorious. That I think it was Siena. They had the poll out just last week that showed Chuck Schumer the least popular he's ever been. We do have that interview coming up in just a quick moment. Stay with us because I said I would mention this. Leftists in the United States are confused. While Iranians, says Liz Peek, around the world celebrate the death of Ayatollah Khamenei, who ruled their country with an iron fist, liberals in the U.S. are condemning President Trump's war to liberate the Persian nation. Opposition to the U.S.-Israel joint attack on Iran was broad and swift, powered in part by this hatred for Trump. If he's behind it, they're reliably against it, and also tinged with anti-Semitism. The smoke is not yet cleared from the bombings in Iran before Democrats started to shriek their objections, with Senator Chris Murphy, for instance, calling it, quote, dangerously illegal and a mistake of staggering scale, and announcing the president as a, quote, would-be dictator. Murphy has also called Israel's policy in Gaza and in the West Bank immoral, and recently announced that he would not support additional military aid to Israel. Anti-Israel Democrats in the House were especially strident, with the squad member Rashida Tlaib posting, quote, it's clear that the genocidal government of Israel doesn't care about children and human life, including our own loved ones in the military. The government of Israel is addicted to bombing hospitals, schools, refugee camps, which are all war crimes. Wow. That goes on through a few other quotes that I think you see kind of the radicalization there. Zohran Mamdani, the newly installed mayor of New York, harshly condemned President Trump's war with Iran, saying today's military strikes on Iran carried out by the United States and Israel mark a catastrophic escalation in an illegal war of aggression. Additionally, I want to speak directly to Iranian New Yorkers. You are part of the fabric of the city. You are our neighbors, small business owners, students, artists, workers, and community leaders. You will be safe here. Mamdani misread the room, assuming that Iranians living in the U.S. would react as he had to attack on the mullahs. Instead, joyful Iranians gathered in Times Square to celebrate the end of one of the most hated and savage regimes in history. They apparently felt perfectly safe, as indeed they were. There are certainly valid reasons to fear a military confrontation with Iran. I think that's fair to say. The country hosts a huge arsenal of ballistic missiles, has well-trained and now vengeful military, and it can disrupt the world's oil supply by mining the Straits of Hormuz. Also, it is a large country of 90 million people. Iran's citizens may hate the mullahs, but they have no weapons with which to bring down the theocracy. But Iran has brought nothing but bloodshed and destruction to Israel, the U.S., and the Middle East for decades. There could be no peace or progress in the region while Iran continues to fund its terror proxies and pursue long-range missile and nuclear bombs. Democrats who mourn the scrapping of President Obama's nuclear deal with Iran, protesting that the JCPOA was preventing the regime from acquiring a nuke, surely know better. The deal was seriously flawed, it was unverifiable, and from day one, the mullahs prevented UN inspectors from carrying out agreed-upon certification of the pact. President Trump has ended the mullahs' reign of terror and united the region in a manner no one could have imagined. This is a righteous endeavor. Let us hope that on the one side, a free Iran will become a trusted ally. Liz Peak. All right, we got to take a break because we've got our guests coming in. Good point. Good point from a viewer. Regarding the poll showing Schumer could lose, don't forget about the poll that showed Crockett could win. That's a fair point. I would say a little different being a primary thing. I'm not going to defend polls, so I'll just agree with you. I just think this one is worth noting that Schumer's polls are the lowest they've ever been, and that's from his own voters, the Democrats, because he, in their mind, caved on past government shutdowns, and most recently with DHS, he gave away all their leverage with the other appropriations. So there's not a lot of love lost between him and his own party right now. And AOC, you and I saw the disaster in Munich, but a lot of her supporters and a lot of Democrats see a young, fresh, new face as compared to Chuck Schumer, who's been there forever. But I'm with you. I'm not going to try to defend a poll whatsoever. Iran's Navy is sunk. They can't mine the Strait to stop shipping. Oh, yeah, straight from news. Yeah, that's a good point. That's been a threat that they've been trying to make. So, yes. All right. We got to take a break. I'm excited for our guests to come in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lecom Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
An app can turn your life upside down in an instant. Pain, medical bills, time off work, it's overwhelming. And when you look to the insurance company for help, they don't see you. They don't see your family or what you've lost. To them, you're just a number, just dollars on a spreadsheet. Their job is to pay you as little as possible. At WYDC Injury Law, we see the person behind the claim. We fight for your recovery, your future, and your peace of mind. If you've been hurt in New York, call 607-500-HURT.
It's Monday again, but I love this job. It was hard to get though. No one gave me a chance.
I found a problem, it fixed.
Perfect. Thank you, Joshua.
Aren't you glad we hired him?
Yes, I am.
Don't underestimate people with disabilities. Visit thearc.org/yes to see what's possible.
Morning. Once we get areas of morning fog out of the way, we will see peaks of sun today with temperature pushing toward the 52-degree mark, upper 40s and low 50s, about 10 degrees above average. Staying mild tonight. In fact, because we're above freezing, precipitation is rain, not dealing with much wintry precipitation types out there, fortunately. Then back with some low and mid 50s. In fact, more wet weather Thursday and again on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, we're going to talk about careers in aviation from the ground to the moon. Welcome into the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Frank.
So I've seen kind of the announcements around. I've heard people talking about this. Tell us exactly what Careers in Aviation is.
It's a brand new event put on by the Career Development Council. It'll be taking place tomorrow.
On Thursday.
Yes, from 9 to 11:30, and we're bringing in students from across the area, from the different greater southern tier BOCES, that'll be learning about careers in aviation and all the different fields that come with it. And the nice thing about this event, it's a first-time event, and on top of that, we have a keynote speaker. You might have heard of her by the name of astronaut Colonel Eileen Collins.
Yes, I think we've all heard of her in this area, of course. But how exciting is that for the kids? Because this is already, well, let's be honest, like a very specific kind of niche, maybe you would almost say,
Absolutely.
where it's just careers in aviation. Where did this idea, before we talk more about Eileen Collins, where did this idea come from?
Well, our boss, our executive director, Sally Dean Mosier, last spring had like a think tank meeting and said, everyone come up with an idea and put them on the board. And I came up with an idea of Aviation Day. And in September, Sally Dean said to me, "You're going to run an aviation career day." So I said, okay. So I was sort of voluntold,
yeah, of course.
Which was great, and run with it. And she gives us the ability to run with our ideas, which is wonderful at our work. So anyway, in the meantime, my son, Leonidas, who I think you've met before, he was going to Pokemon camp at the Wings of Eagle Discovery Center.
Yeah.
This is a true story. And I was up there, and I got talking to Nicole Burt, who was the executive director of the Wings of Eagle Discovery Center, and also a fellow BOCES employee. And we got talking about this program that I'm looking to put together in the spring. And we just got talking every day. I came, dropped Leonidas off, picked him up. Yeah. We talked some more. And then finally she said, "Why don't you host it here?"
Yeah. Seems like a no-brainer, really, when you think about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's how it came about. And so thank you, Leonidas, for going to Pokemon camp. And thank you, Wings of Eagle Discovery Center, for having the camp for the kids.
Well, and the Wings of Eagles is kind of like a gem for our area. I just saw recently, I think it was on Empire Report, where they had, I didn't even know this was a category, but like the top 10 aviation museums in New York.
Yes.
Of course, they were right there. And it's sometimes we as members of the community forget about how great they are for our community.
Absolutely. We've checked it out a few times, getting ready to set up the space and see how it would work with our presenters. And I definitely want to go back and take my family to do some of the simulator stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for this event coming up on Thursday from 9 to 11:30, this is for students. So there's no, people are watching this. There's no calling up and being a part of it, but it's for the students. And tell us some of what they'll be able to learn and what they'll experience at this event.
Well, just to go back to what you said for the students, as it says here, a private event.
Yes.
So unfortunately, it's not open to the public.
Right.
We just want to stress that this is for the students of our greater southern tier BOCES, which it is. But I'll let you take that.
Yeah, sure. It's that. So there we started with aviation. Chris knew some pilots and things of that level. Eileen was a very nice surprise, and the adults, as much as the students, are very excited to have her here and have her be a part of it. My background way back goes to being a travel agent, so that sort of ties into the whole thing too. So my idea was, why not have everything from the ground to the moon? We've got aviation mechanics, we have Elmira Airport with their ground crew and pilots, engineering,
we have
military.
The Air Force coming, we have the New York Air National Guard coming, the full-time Air Force will be there. So there's opportunities for students to look at all these different careers that we're going to have and talk to them about. Maybe this is something I might want to do in the future.
And that's what I think is so unique about it. And I hate to keep using that term unique like that, but I've never heard of anything quite like this for students.
We get a lot of the same, like medical, engineering, law, like a lot of the same things. So this is just something that some of the kids that are coming are some drone soccer students from different schools, because obviously they have a taste of aviation. So maybe see where that could lead as far as an interest in that career category, and just see what really is out there, because they don't know what they don't know until they experience it and get to meet these people and what they do.
Was it difficult to put together the speakers, or did you find once the word started to spread that they kind of come together?
Well, a couple of things. So first off, this event wouldn't be possible without my colleague, Jen Page. Number one, I couldn't do it without Jen. My boss, Sally D. Mosier, allowed me to have the ability to think outside the box to create this event. It wouldn't be possible with her saying, yeah, let's do this. And then, of course, Nicole Burt, the Wings of Eagle Discovery Center.
Yeah, of course.
And then the biggest thing was getting out my phone, going to our database, starting to look up people that we know and talk to them. And all of our colleagues were wonderful in giving us ideas and thoughts of who they might know, also could participate. Believe it or not, there is quite an aviation community around here, from the Wings of Eagle Discovery Center to the Soaring Capital, to all the little private Cessna airports that are around us. So there's a lot of people that have interest.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, and it's not just being a pilot or an astronaut. I mean, that's wonderful. But the people that fuel the planes, you know, people that sell the tickets, as Jen had mentioned, you know, travel agent, you know, people that keep the Air Force, or excuse me, the airport secure.
Yeah, TSA. Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so many different things that go in with aviation, and again, this is all career-based for students. They have jobs and opportunities when they graduate, and that's what this is focused and geared towards with the Career Development Council.
And what does the Students' Day look like at the event?
So because of the way the museum is set up, and they're also going to get time with Eileen, like she's doing the keynote, but she's also agreed to stay and kind of like man a table with Wings of Eagles. So the students will be in like groups of 14 or 15. They'll get it like 10 minutes or so at a station, talk to who they want to talk to. I understand a lot of the presenters are just bringing hands-on things for them to see, touch, pamphlets to take, interactive, which is always good with the kids. Then they'll rotate. So they'll rotate through 10 stations, but that gives the kids a chance to not just see everyone, but they also will get that kind of a little bit more time with Eileen and get to ask some questions of an astronaut in addition to everybody else that's there. So I think it'll be a big takeaway for them.
Have you found the planning, because it always comes quickly when you're planning a big event like this, how would you say the planning went for something you've never done before?
So that's interesting that you asked me that. So I was talking to Nicole Burt about getting Eileen over the course of the months to find out, you know, when she'd be available. And we were hoping, you know, like May, April, warmer weather. So I got a call from Nicole and said, hey, her handler said this is the date. She's coming on this date. And I was like, what, when? I'm like, that's only a few weeks away. She said, that's when she's coming. And of course, I immediately reached out to my boss and my team lead about this, and you know, to take that date. But it was also conflicting with another date that we had going on, which is the Career Sophomore Day, which is a huge event that our work puts on. Our colleagues are putting on at Elmira College. So that's a lot of events. Back to back. So I was able to reach back out to them and say, hey, can we have it the next morning, you know, or can we do the next day? And they were able to graciously say, we'll give you a couple hours the next morning. So that way we didn't have a conflict of back-to-back
events. What's the chances of back-to-back? You know?
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
So yeah, so and of course, I met with my boss the next morning and said, hey, here's what we got. And of course, she thought of Jen would be a great mix and with me, and we've worked out very well together. We balance each other and trying to get this done, but it's in a short amount of time. Usually events, you know, we start planning, as you know, could be a year in advance, 6 months, but less than 4 weeks is a little tough.
Just a lot of emails, a lot of calls, a lot of after work calls, like just things like that to make it happen. So you do what you have to do.
But we are appreciative of this opportunity to have Eileen.
It's an amazing
So to go back to answer your original question, yes, once people start hearing that Eileen was going to be part of it, a lot of people want to be part of it.
That made it easier for people to want to come.
You get your foot in the door when she comes in.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned you back-to-back. How's everything going at Career Development Council?
Busy.
Yeah, that's good, right? That's a good problem to have.
Springtime it's getting to be spring where we'll see a lot more career days, not just high school, but middle school, elementary schools. Right now through the end of June, we have our calendars full. We have team meetings every week to say what's going on and do you need us there? Do you need me there? And we just have each other's backs and do whatever we can to make it successful.
And also with that, you know, we have different teams. We have a Cooper's team and a Bush team, which is located in Langdon Plaza. And we are event planners to the max. As I spoke to you earlier, I will be bringing a group of students up here to tour your studio.
I'm looking forward to it. We're all looking forward to it.
They'll be coming up here tour your studio. So again, we're all over the place. I mean, you know, from Hornell to Sayre. I mean, we cover a tremendous amount. The Greater Southern Tier BOCES does.
That's a lot of driving.
Yes, and we do so much for the students to get them career ready and preparedness. From job shadows to touring studios, to aviation days, career sophomore days. We have a whole slew of things that we could go on and on about what we do. And this is all done through the Career Development Council here in the Greater Southern Tier BOCES.
And we definitely couldn't do it with all of our volunteers
You
like
set
you.
me up. That was going to be my next question.
So yeah, we have so many businesses and people that we do work with. We're constantly looking for more volunteers. You could go to the GST BOCES website to find Career Development Council. That'll give you a contact for Sally Dean Mosier. Okay. But we just appreciate it because we couldn't do it without them. And some of them do it over and over again. So we truly appreciate them taking the time out of their workday all the time to continue to help us.
Yes, because we don't pay speakers. Right. You know, so we're a nonprofit. Just really, we're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So we always are looking for more people to come talk. You know, maybe even someone, let's say, maybe frankly speaking, want to come talk to a media class. I'd love to have you come.
Absolutely, anytime.
Yeah, and we appreciate you allowing us to be here today, you know, talking about this event. But we do this all for the students in our community, get them ready for the next level once they graduate.
Well, it's a perfect community event, and you've got not just a community hero, a national hero as your speaker. I mean, what an amazing opportunity for these kids! Really, almost a once in a lifetime.
Without question.
So here's the big question before we go. I always ask the tough question right at the end. Will there be a second annual Careers in Aviation?
I'm game for it if I could work with this lady right here.
All right, that's good.
If I can work with her, yes. And again, we'll be starting to prepare for that next morning.
I truly hope so.
Yeah.
Yes. We do a survey that we hope everybody fills out. And then we start building from the survey.
Yeah.
How can we make it bigger, better, you know, and more accessible and so forth.
Yeah. Well, best of luck. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to hear about it. You have to send some pictures. If you don't mind, we'll show them on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
We'd love that.
All right. Well, good luck, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Allegiant's flight from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of
Myrtle
our
Beach
lives.
is closer than ever. Non-stop
From a sense
to
of
sun,
community and
Elmira,
safety,
afternoons
to
on
physical and
front
mental
dining or
health, to economic security and independence.
Is looking for fans to show up.
Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
Morning. Once we get areas of morning fog out of the way, we will see peaks of sun today with temperature the 50s, 40s, and low 50s, about 10 degrees above average. Staying mild tonight. In fact, because we're above freezing, precipitation is rain, not dealing with much wintry precipitation types out there, fortunately. Then back with some low and mid 50s. In fact, more wet weather Thursday and again on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Again, we thank Jen Page and Chris Callis for being on the program. Of course, from Career Development Council. What a fun event. It's always nice to hear Eileen Collins is going to be in town. Okay, again, if you're just joining us, there is going to be a runoff in the Texas Senate primary between Senator John Cornyn, the incumbent, and State Attorney General Ken Paxton. Also, Jasmine Crockett has been defeated by James Talrico in the race for the Democrat side of that Senate race. Okay, let's... All right, I've been teasing this all morning. We need to get to this. New York is about to get the Oz treatment, and long overdue. Medicaid czar, Dr. Oz, is turning up the heat on Governor Kathy Hochul. He's launching an investigation into the state's massive, get this, $124 billion Medicaid program, which he has claimed is rife with waste, fraud, and abuse. In a letter sent to Hochul yesterday, Oz, who heads the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, posed 50 questions scrutinizing what she and her team are doing to control costs and identify and prevent fraud. Saying in the letter, quote, I am formally requesting detailed information regarding program integrity and provider screening and enrollment oversight with New York's Medicaid program. This request is necessary to ensure public confidence and protect beneficiaries in your state's Medicaid program. Oz said the data is clear. New York far outspends other states on its Medicaid program on a statewide and per beneficiary basis. New York's average spending on each Medicaid beneficiary is, ready, $12,528. That's 36% higher than the national average. New York's average Medicaid spending per resident was the highest in the country, nearly 80% higher than the national average, said Dr. Oz. These elevated costs reflect a combination of more New Yorkers enrolled in Medicaid relative to the state's population, potential fraud, expansive benefit structures, and excessive provider payment levels within New York's program compared with most other states. More than 6.8 million New Yorkers, 34% of the state's population, are currently covered by Medicaid. He said one of the leading drivers of Medicaid's explosive growth is the increase in the number of workers serving elderly New Yorkers in home care, adult daycare, and personal care programs. He also pointed to criminal fraud uncovered by the Justice Department, including 2 Brooklyn scammers who pleaded guilty to defrauding a whopping $68 million from the state's Medicaid home care program by paying health care kickbacks for services they didn't provide at 3 Big Apple businesses. It goes through some other examples of this fraud. But finally, this has been called for by many, specifically Republicans, in New York State for a long time. There is no real great oversight to Medicaid and this $124 billion. We know that he's also launched similar probes, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, in California and Minnesota. Now, Kathy Hochul defended her administration, saying well before Trump administration even took office, Governor Hochul was leading efforts to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, including sweeping CDPAP reforms that shut down hundreds of wasteful Medicaid middlemen and saved over $2 billion in state and federal taxpayers while protecting home care for those who needed it. New York will continue to work with the federal government to identify bad actors, just as we did when we partnered with the Justice Department on the successful investigation cited in this letter. But let's be clear about the real goal for Donald Trump and Washington Republicans: eliminating programs to support our most vulnerable and ripping away health care from everyday New Yorkers, Hochul's statement said. Typical Hochul fashion. Trying a little too hard there at the end, a little too cliche, a little too trite. Yes, by looking into waste, fraud, and corruption, they are ripping away health care for New Yorkers. But listen to this, because it's not just Minnesota where people bilked Medicaid for millions. Federal auditors found $198 million improper payments for Medicaid-funded autism services in 4 states, and another $410 million may have been incorrectly billed. Wow. What they did is they searched autism care in Indiana, Wisconsin, Maine, and Colorado. They put it under a microscope, examining 100 monthly bills in each state over a year. They found potential payment errors in every single one. That's not a mistake. Indiana, Wisconsin, Maine, and Colorado, 100 monthly bills they studied for a year, 100 monthly bills from each state. and they found potential payment errors in every single one. According to the audits, Indiana made at least $56 million in improper payments, Wisconsin $18.5 million, Maine $45.6 million, and Colorado a staggering $77.8 million. So that's just the 4 that they studied. There's a big myth that needs to be busted, is the idea that states and the federal government equally share the goal of reducing improper spending, said Chris Medrano, an analyst at the free market healthcare research group Paragon Health. He also claimed a lot of states use funding gimmicks to redirect boatloads of Medicaid money into their general funds, suggesting they may be incentivized to keep the gravy train flowing and turn a blind eye to overbilling. Although no companies have been prosecuted for fraud related to the audits at this time, the federal government has requested the return of millions of dollars in improper payments from each of the states. And in Minnesota, they're suing, I should say, to block Trump administration's withholding of that $243 million in Medicaid funds. The lawsuit asked a U.S. court in Minneapolis to issue a temporary restraining order to block the withholding for Medicaid. The move came after Vice President J.D. Vance said last week the administration would temporarily halt some Medicaid funding to Minnesota over fraud concerns as part of what he described as an aggressive crackdown on the misuse of public funds. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison said his office has a strong track record of fighting Medicaid fraud and has won more than 300 convictions and $80 million in judgments and restitution during his time in office. Trump's attempts to look like he's fighting fraud only punish the people and families who must need the high-quality, affordable health care that all Minnesotans deserve, said Ellison. So suing to block Trump's and his administration from withholding that $243 million in Medicaid. Hey, since we're talking about New York, well, we're kind of going a long way around New York. I've got a couple things here that I think you're going to find interesting. We can still talk about Kristi Noem's combative Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. We haven't really had a chance to talk about that because we've had so many Iran updates and now New York. But we still have a lot to get to, and we have about 15 minutes to get there. Before we take a break, how do you like this headline? And I'll let you think about it while we take our break. We talked for so long about congestion pricing in the city, and we know that Governor Hochul canceled congestion pricing before the election, and as soon as the election was over, reintroduced the congestion pricing. It has not been received well from the residents of New York City and surrounding areas. Well, here's your headline before we take a break. The headline from Emily Barnes at USA Today asks the question, will congestion pricing get approved for upstate New York? Stay with us. You hear the Corning whistle. We'll be right back.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missile attacks. Highest hospitalization to evacuation in the West. Forced labor.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. This viewer writes in, there is no doubt that Kathy Hochul has deferred all Medicaid questions to Frankie Focus. Frankie Focus, the star of the banning of cell phones in schools. Unbelievable. Thank you. I always like when Frankie Focus makes a guest appearance. Mark writes in, I wonder how many illegals are on Medicaid in New York State. Probably many. What I mean by that is if they can get a driver's license with no name, a Medicaid card is even easier. Thank you, Mark. And that refers to the driver that literally on their driver's license said, no name given. That was their name. Here we go. Comment from a different viewer. My new hero, meaning Dr. Oz. Have a great day, Frank. Well, thank you. You have a great day as well. And finally, last comment in this segment. Ken writes in, Frank, where is Doge when you need them most? I know. Right here in New York State, I know. All right, so Emily Barnes says a proposal to bring a vehicle registration fee similar to New York City's congestion pricing to upstate New York is sparking politically charged debates. New York Public Transit Association President Miguel Valquez says funding for upstate transit has failed to keep pace with rising costs and growing demand from employers and communities. If downstate funding mechanisms are proven and effective, why not expand some of those to upstate? So who would start, and so what they're suggesting, who would start paying an additional fee in New York? It would be all of us that drive. The $25 annual supplemental vehicle registration fee would affect all New York residents living in counties that don't contribute to the MTA. New York City and the following counties currently contribute to the MTA: Dutchess, Nassau, Orange, Putnam, Rockland, Suffolk, and Westchester. So everyone else would have a $25 annual supplemental vehicle registration fee. Now, how is it different than the congestion pricing in New York City? Well, New York City's congestion pricing, which went into effect in January of last year, charges drivers $9 to enter Manhattan below 60th Street. According to Governor Hochul, the program decreased the number of vehicles entering the zone by 11% in its first year and generated over $550 million in net revenue for the MTA. Now, we know Donald Trump has tried to block it, et cetera. We don't have to get into all that. How are Hochul and Blakeman reacting to this? While details of a standalone bill have yet to be filed, a spokesperson for Hochul's office said the governor has no plans to implement an additional fee on drivers in the region. Well, not until perhaps after the election. So this year we're good. Well, that's what she did with congestion pricing, right? Bruce Blakeman, the Republican challenger to Hochul in the gubernatorial race, said it's wrong. Under Kathy Hochul, New Yorkers are already overtaxed. Now they want you to pay more just to drive. This is how it starts. One region, then statewide. So, of course, they had to respond, the other generic response, but Hochul had to respond to Blakeman, saying Bruce Blakeman is fighting alongside Donald Trump to make everything New Yorkers buy more expensive and take $4,200 out of families' pockets every year thanks to his tariffs. All right. Also, speaking of why not, just spending a lot of money in New York, taxpayers will shell out more than $36,000 per child for Mayor Zohran Mamdani's free 2K pilot program. That's that child care. That's roughly $13,000 more than the average cost of private child care. Well, when the government gets involved, of course, it's going to be more than the private sector. Governor Hochul allocated $73 million in state funding for the 2,000-seat pilot launching in the fall, or about $36,500 per child, as the pair move forward fulfilling Mamdani's promise of universal child care for all city kids from 6 weeks to 5 years old. So, typically, well, we're going to spend in New York $36,000 per child because of this plan, and Mayor Mamdani ran on this. But that's $13,000 more than the average cost of private child care. Gives you an idea of when you're talking about government versus the private sector, and that's why this next headline should be no surprise. Democrat state lawmakers in New York are going to back a tax hike on the rich. Yes, tax the rich. Democrats in the state Senate and Assembly will formally propose higher income tax rates for wealthy New Yorkers, putting them at odds with Governor Hochul's stance against hikes. Two people with knowledge of the plan said. So let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
At William Mattar, they only handle motor vehicle accident cases.
No, we're not going to take any low-ball offers.
There's nothing William loves more than fighting for his clients and giving them the big money they deserve.
Okay, wow.
But everyone needs an outlet, a chance to get away from it all.
Heads bowed, eyes closed, and now go to your happy place.
Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Mattar.
No, no, no. Turn it down. Turn it off. Get a hand. Lose the bells and whistles. Drive without distractions.
Morning. Once we get areas of morning fog out of the way, we will see peaks of sun today with temperature pushing toward the 52-degree mark, upper 40s and low 50s, about 10 degrees above average. Staying mild tonight. In fact, because we're above freezing, precipitation is rain, not dealing with much wintry precipitation types out there, fortunately. Then back with some low and mid 50s. In fact, more wet weather Thursday and again on Saturday.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, wrapping up today's edition. Let's go to some viewer comments. Mark writes in, remember the DMV being shut down a couple of weeks ago for a week? They said it was for upgrades. I wonder if they were just deleting their bad practices, like giving CDLs to whomever they wanted. Good question. Or maybe they were upgrading their programs to get ready for that $25 supplemental registration. Comment from a different viewer. Vote for statehood for upstate. Thank you very much. And finally, Ken writes in, I would be more than happy to pay a $25 supplemental registration fee if I could get a $50 supplemental tax return. Thank you, Ken. I like that government math. All right. So, yes, Democrat state lawmakers in New York are going to back the tax hike on the rich. An update from a story we brought to you numerous times. Columbia University, it's been decided by a judge that they cannot punish anti-Israel students who took over Hamilton Hall. There you go. It seems like another activist judge. I know I'm running late. We didn't even do the takeaways from Kristi Noem's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. CNN said Noem defends her early descriptions of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. And that was a big takeaway. I know that's one that they were showing over and over on the news. Republicans pressed Noem on the ad buy. That was $220 million price tag. That was essentially an ad for Kristi Noem. So that was, even Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, he wasn't buying. He said, I just can't agree that this was, when we talk about Doge and we talk about cutting back $220 million price tag for PSA, GOP senator brings up or tells Noem to resign and even brought up her dog, Cricket, remember, in the book that she admitting to shooting. And she said there are no plans to send ICE officers to polling locations, and she was confronted over her plane use. So there we go. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. We've got a busy week in store, but we do want to thank our guests from this morning, and we'll post that to YouTube a little bit later on and to our website, WYDCTV.com, in case you missed it. But Jen Page and Chris Callis from the Career Development Council about their Aviation Career Day, from the ground to the moon. And then on tomorrow's program, we'll be talking with Mark Margison, of course, the Chemung County chair of the chair of the Chemung County Legislature and the IDA. Then on Friday, Looking forward to this. As always, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be joining us. First time on the program since Ways and Means and becoming a ranking member there. So we'll be talking with Phil Palmisano on Friday. So there you go. That wraps up all the housekeeping. Make sure you join us every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already.
Allegiance flight from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.